Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to the architecture of Hitman, World of Assassination. We are in Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. So this map is the tutorial map of Hitman 2. If you remember, Hitman World of Assassination is a trilogy of games that got rebranded into one game. So this is the tutorial map for the second game in the trilogy, and because it's a tutorial map, it's smaller than all the other ones. So it's going to be a short video, I guess. So where are we? We are on a beach. We have a lighthouse in the distance. That's interesting if you know anything about Hawke's Bay. We'll get to that. Out there we have the Pacific Ocean. Oh, according to the map, north is that way. So the beach runs from north to south. We have headland over there, and a headland over there, and a bit of a bay. And the moon's there. Some rocks in the water outside, and then on the land side we have sand, and then some plains, and then some mountains. Oh, we have a bit of a ruined structure here. You'll notice there's no other buildings, it's just open land. And then there's the house. That's the architecture that we're gonna look at. Alright, so that's Hawke's Bay. Let's go ahead and look at the map, right? Here's New Zealand. And if we zoom in to the North Island, this is Hawke's Bay. See that? Hawke Bay. Oh, it says Hawke Bay. Wait a minute. It should be Hawke's Bay? Or is it Hawke Bay? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Hawke's Bay. But this is Hawke's Bay. This here. Now, in the game, we are in a part of the bay where the beach goes north and south. And also we are kind of on a plain. So we are on a plain, and then there's mountains in the background, right? So the mountains are a little bit further away. If we switch to the other view, you actually see that this is like cliffs. There's cliffs here, and then these are kind of cliffs. And so there's a plains here, and then there's mountains beyond. Well, not mountains, like hills and mountains beyond. Or I guess it could be here. So we're at north to south bay. So this is Napier. It's one of the largest cities in New Zealand, although, you know, New Zealand doesn't have a lot of people. So it's not very big. But Napier, Hastings, there's two cities on this plain here. And we might be somewhere around here. So if we are actually on Hawke's Bay. But the issue with what we find in the game versus what we have in the real world, one, there aren't any lighthouses in Hawke's Bay. So there's not a lot of traffic, not a lot of sea traffic around this area because we're out on the other side of Australia. There's just nothing but Pacific Ocean out there. So there's no major shipping traffic around here. And so there's no lighthouses. Like there's a few lighthouses, but they're small and they're tiny and they're not really what you see in the game. So that's one problem. The other problem is that around the beach here, around the bay here, whether we're talking about here or down here, there's actually a lot of buildings. So Napier is here, and then there's like a whole bunch of houses, and then other buildings, because a lot of people want to live by the beach, right? Beachfront property is kind of popular. And so if you come down here, in fact there's like a, what is that? Woolworks New Zealand Limited. There's even an industrial building there. If we kind of look at State Highway 31, so it looks like this. There's the train track that comes down here. There's the highway, it's 2 lanes. And then there's grass, and then the beach is out there, right? And then on this side, there's a lot of buildings. A lot of people want to live near the beach because it's nice. So we don't actually have what we have in the game, which is just a big empty space with an empty beach and just one house. So there's nothing like that anywhere here. And down here is not quite the same. Can we come down here or no? No, there's not even any street view. Oh wait, Clive. So like there's a bunch of houses, some vegetation, no parking on grass reserve, and then the beach is on the other side, right? So yeah. So that's what the real Hawke's Bay is like. If we go to the north of Napier though, let the game load. The map I mean. If we go to the north of Napier, so again the houses just kind of stretch around the beachfront because everybody wants to live by the beach. If we come out here, what's this? Right? Oh yeah, so we're kind of close to the beach. There's not that much sand here. We do have some houses, but the houses end around about there, right? And the road ends about here too. And then we have this area. The mountains are kind of far away though, not quite the same as in the game, and there's no lighthouse of course. We can't go that way any further because Street View stops here. Can we... State Highway 2? Yeah. So... This is the real Hawke's Bay. Kind of like that, but not quite. The mountains are not quite as tall as in the game. And there's just more people, right? Although, I did look around a little bit earlier. If we actually get off of Hawke's Bay... So Hawke's Bay technically ends here. But if we like go down here a little bit, look at this area here, down here, look at this. So this is a bit further away. And it's a bit more out of the way, and there's more sand too, look at that. Oh, can we see it here? Oh, we can't see it here, look. Oh, there's more sand. Oh, look at that. Look at that rock there. Doesn't that look interesting? Doesn't that look interesting? Oh, look at that rock there on top of my head. Look at that, look at that. And look at that rock there. Look at that rock there. Look at this sand. Oh, look at the sand. There's the tall grass. So maybe we're not actually on Hawke's Bay. Maybe we're just a little bit to the south. It actually looks more like what we see in the game. And the hills are a little bit closer here as well, although not quite the same as in the game. Interesting. Anyway. So generally speaking, we are on the east coast of the North Island of New Zealand. More or less. Right? Okay. So that's the real thing versus the fictional thing. I guess the biggest thing is that in the real world, there's just more people. I mean, there's not that many people in New Zealand, but people tend to like living on the beach. Or at least having a holiday home on the beach. And so you're not gonna get that many beaches where there's just no houses at all. Or just one house, right? You're not really gonna get only one house. But aside from that, plausible. It's a plausible representation of Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. Before we get started, so just a little bit on the beach house culture in New Zealand. We called it the Bach in New Zealand. Bach? B-A-C-H. So because New Zealand is an island nation with a lot of beaches, and people like going on holiday to the beach, so like when there's a long weekend, like a holiday weekend, people would like pack their things, go camping on the beach. And the Bach originally used to be very simple things. So at the early on, the Bach was just like a shed. So instead of camping on the beach and sleeping in a tent, you would have a somewhat more permanent wooden shed or something, and you would sleep in the shed instead. So it kind of says here construction, almost always small structures and then so on. And so like the early Bachs, they usually didn't have electricity, didn't have running water, didn't have toilets. It wasn't like a house, it was just like a shelter to sleep in. Kind of like a log cabin in the mountains or something. Like you go hiking in the mountains, you don't really want to sleep in a tent every time, so you kind of have a little cabin up there. It's just a shelter, right? But of course, over time, as people with more money got into this whole beach holiday thing, they started building more substantial houses, and as the infrastructure kind of reached out to the more outlying areas, you have like water pipes and sewer pipes and electricity. Then people started building like proper beach houses. And so today the beach is usually just the Bach is usually like a proper beach house. like a holiday home that you would go out on in the holidays and enjoy the beach. What we see in the game is unusual because what we see in the game is something very expensive, right? This is like a multi-million-dollar luxury beach house, which, you know, I guess some people, like if you have the money, you would want to do it. But this is not really the authentic beach badge attitude, if I can say that way. Like the badge is a very like down-to-earth, back to nature sort of a culture, right? You kind of just get out of the city and just live on the beach. So building a multi-million-dollar beach house, you can call it a badge, but it's not the same. It's not, you're missing the point. The point is to let go of your material things and just go live in nature. Like that's the idea, right? But you know, rich people are gonna do rich people things, I guess. Okay, so that's the badge, and that's the New Zealand beach house culture. Is there anything else I need to say? Not really. So like this is more like what the badge would have been originally, or I mean not how it is now, but imagine if this thing before it fell apart. Imagine like a wooden shed with a roof and walls, because you know on the east coast of New Zealand, that's just Pacific Ocean, right? That's just ocean all the way to South America, so it's just open. And so when the wind blows in, it really blows in. And you don't really want to set up a tent right next to literally the Pacific Ocean and everything blowing in. Even in the game you can see, look at that. The wind is like whipping up and it's just blowing the sand as it does, right? And so like it's not it's pretty wild out here. And so you kind of want to have a little shelter to sleep in instead of just a tent. And that's why people did it, right? So this is more like what a badge would have been. Okay, let's look at the beach. So on the beach here, not really architectural, but you see there's this long grass. There are grasses that will grow in the sand, and we actually encourage the grass to grow here because it helps to stabilize the sand, because the sand just kind of washes up out of the ocean and then it blows in. And if you don't control it, the sand just keeps moving inland and you just get kind of sand dunes sweeping into the land, and that's not good because people want to build beach houses there and then all the sand just keeps piling up, which is a problem for that house, by the way. There's no reason why that house can exist like that because the sand just keeps piling up against it. And so to control the movement of the sand, we encourage the grass to grow like this. And if you go to New Zealand, you should not walk on the grass. Like you shouldn't do this. Like this, don't do this. Because the grass is actually quite fragile. It's just kind of barely holding itself in the sand. And if you walk on it too much, you'll kind of destroy it and you'll disrupt it, and then it's not good for the grass. And if the grass dies, then the sand starts moving, and then everyone else over there gets in trouble, right? So you don't want to do this. And the other thing is there's usually birds, rare seabirds, nesting in the tall grass, so you don't want to disrupt them. So if you ever go to New Zealand, don't walk on the long grass on the sand like this. Like, don't do this. Do not do that. Do not do that, you damn tourist. Alright, let's go up to the house. The house is textbook modernism. Like literally textbook modernism. If you read a textbook about modernism, you will find the Farnsworth house. The Farnsworth house is one of the earliest, one of the earlier, the archetype of modernism, right? So it's a rectangular box. It's got glass walls all around. So when the house was first designed, I believe the curtains weren't there. There was no curtains. It was just glass walls. It's just transparent. There's no privacy. There's no privacy. It's just a glass box, and the idea is like you are in nature, like you're in the landscape, and you like walk around in your house, and in all directions, like you just kind of everything's just open, right? So that's the idea of the Farnsworth house. And if you look at that, and you look at this, yeah, no, you can see it. You can see it. And it's the same idea here. We have a roof, right, to keep the rain off, and then we have a lot of glass walls because we want the views. You're like, why are you on the beach? You're on the beach because you want the views, right? Like the views there. So you have nothing stopping you from, like nothing between you and the views except a transparent sheet of glass. And that's basically it. Like that's basically the idea of this modernist house. It's quite simple actually. There are a few issues. I already talked about the sand. So the sand keeps blowing up, and it's probably... I mean, either you have to like keep sweeping the sand off constantly, or otherwise the sand will just start, start covering up all the paved areas, start piling up against the windows and the walls, and you just... I think this is too close to the beach. If we go back to the map, I don't know if we need to go back to the map, but if you like look at the street views, you'll see that the houses are always back from the beach. Like they're never on the beach. They're not even close to the beach. There's like there's water, sand, and then like a big patch of grass, and then the road, and then another patch of grass, and then it's the house. So to get to the beach, you have to kind of move a little bit. And that's because you don't want the sand coming in all the time. And also, again, the Pacific Ocean, the wind comes in, like the sea spray, the salt water gets washed up and gets blown into the house. And like all of that is actually not that nice. You don't actually want the Pacific Ocean blowing straight into your house because it's just too much, right? So this is a little too exposed, probably unrealistic. Like it looks cool, but impractical, most likely. Also, the foundations appear to be just laid in the sand, so this is a bad idea. Sand is... you can't trust sand. Don't trust sand. Have you ever done this? If you have like a bucket of sand, right? You have a bucket of sand, you put a rock on top. The rock just sits on the sand, right? But if you shake the bucket, the sand starts shaking, the rock will sink into the sand. So when you shake sand, it turns into liquid. Or it behaves like liquid, and anything that's just sitting on the sand will just sink in. And this is a problem in New Zealand because New Zealand is an earthquake zone. So, you can build a house like this, and maybe it'll be okay for a few years. And then when an earthquake hits you, suddenly the sand becomes liquid and your house sinks into the sand, and then you don't have a house anymore. So do not build just on sand, right? So the only way this can work is if the foundations actually pile all the way down to solid rock, or something more solid than sand. But you have to pile through all the sand, and then you have to have the legs sit into the solid rock below, which I don't see any of that happening here. There's no evidence that there's been piles driven down or anything like that. So I'm dubious about the fact that this house is just sitting on the sand like this. I mean, it's not that you can't make it work, but it's actually a real pain in the ass to make it work. And even if you like pile down, because the sand is moving, right? Every time the wind blows, the sand moves, and it'll either pile up, like it'll pile up on one side and then expose the other side, and like the sand's just not reliable. Don't build on sand, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a really bad idea. Oh, and it's kind of close to the ocean too, so sea level rise is a thing. Climate change is a thing. Global warming is a thing, and as the ocean warms, the water expands, and so sea level rise is a problem. How close are we to the sea level? I mean, even if you don't have sea level rise, storm surge is a problem. I mean, we don't get that many storms in New Zealand, but we get them sometimes. So here... oh, this is a bit strange actually. If you look down here, where are we? So the driftwood is here. So driftwood is basically a high water mark, right? So the driftwood, like driftwood's here. And if we come this way, the driftwood is all the way up here. I'm not sure if this driftwood is plausible, because the grass doesn't really... the grass can't survive in water, so the grass grows above the water line usually. So if the driftwood is up here, then I'm not sure how that grass can grow down there. But let's be charitable. Okay, let's be charitable. Let's say like the high water mark is maybe like here. So I guess we're almost at high tide. From here to the base of the building, what is that? 3 meters? 2.5 meters up? Storm surge can easily be more than 2.5 meters, right? And not just storm surge, also tsunamis. Tsunamis can happen too. And if the water comes in, it just comes straight in. Because if you look at the house, you'll notice that it's not raised up at all. It's just flush with the sand. It's just flush with the ground. Everything's flush with the ground. And so, yeah, if there's storm surge, the water starts coming in. The house is gonna be flooded. And this house, like the location, the positioning of this house, I think is extremely dubious. I don't... Any real house would be further back from the beach. So, just so you know. Just, I don't know, like, if you want to build a multi-million-dollar house by the beach, just these are things you need to know, right? Don't put it on the sand. Oh, and like these outdoor sitting areas too. Again, the Pacific Ocean's right there, and it's kind of blowing sand and sea salt into your face as you're lying down here. Like on a calm day with no wind, I'm sure it's quite nice. But when you're exposed to the Pacific Ocean like this, there's not that many days where it's not windy. And this seems optimistic, right? It seems optimistic. And this umbrella, like when the wind like really blows, cause it's just ocean. It's just ocean. The wind just kind of sweeps in. All right, let's look at the house. The house has some. I mean, first of all, it's very cool, right? It's just kind of long rectangular shapes. Like it's just a long horizontal plane with just windows. Very cool. Structurally, I think there are some issues. I'm not sure if this is safe. In fact, I don't think it is. I mean, so architects like to do these magic tricks, right? It's like, oh, no columns, look at that. But they don't do it like this. If you're gonna have a cantilever, so this, I think it's supposed to be concrete. If it's steel, maybe it's okay. Maybe it is steel, just pretending to be concrete. If it's concrete, then there's not enough strength here to hold up that cantilever. What the magic trick usually is they'll hide the beam in the wall. But here we don't have that, right? So if you have like a wall, the whole wall is the beam, and then you kind of stick the floor and the ceiling on the beam. If you do that, it can work, easily work, right? So if there's like a solid wall at some point sticking out to there, then the whole thing is just, you know, beam. Whereas that, it's just like really, really thin floors. It's not gonna have enough strength to stay rigid up at the very end there. So structurally, I think they're stretching it a little bit too much. And then back here, there's too many windows too. And look at this. So not only is there no beam up to there, but if you come back this way, this is also window. It's also window. It's window back to here. So the cantilever is not just from this point to that point. The cantilever is to here. The cantilever is from this point all the way out. So I don't think the magic trick is being done properly. Like those are windows. I mean, I guess, okay, you say, oh, that's holding up that's not enough to hold up all of this. Right, so that we have this little bit holding it up, we have this little bit holding it up, and then this is window again, right? And then here, again, those are windows. We have that little thing holding up all of this, and then beyond this, there's no structure, no structure, no structure, except that little bit here. So there's just too many windows and not enough structure, is what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure this is not structurally plausible. But if they just like add a few walls here and there, and then remove a few windows here and there, they could make this shape work. It's just they were a little bit too ambitious with the windows, I think. Structurally speaking. if we come around this side, I'll talk about the inside of the building later. Come around to this side. Far fewer windows on this side, and I'm not too sure why. It could be that whoever drew the concept art only drew it from the other direction and didn't draw it from this direction. Because there's no reason why there aren't any windows on this side, really, because the views are kind of fine this way, right? Nothing wrong with those views. They're kind of the same as the other side. So why wouldn't you have windows here to catch those views? I'm not sure. Like, like you might say, okay, this is the structure, but it's not. Doesn't work like this. If this was in the middle of the house, like if there were solid walls in the middle of the house going both ways, and then everything else cantilevers off that, structurally that would work. So this is structural, but it's all on one side, and the other side cantilevers too far. So like what I'm trying to say is, the idea of it and the aesthetics of it, they could make this work structurally, but they haven't done it. They haven't made it work structurally. But they could. Alright, around the back. Around this side. I mean like this, for example, like you have a big portal here, but then you have like a wall there and a wall there, so like this part of the house is structurally fine. Right, they have that holding that up. And then this, alright, I mean there's a lot of structure here, and then from this point, there's a lot of glass. There's a lot of glass and a lot of stuff that doesn't touch the ground. And like, probably just remove those windows and you'll be okay, actually. Maybe remove those windows as well, and this will be fine. Alright, so over here we have a driveway. We can't go very far this way before the map ends. The driveway... We can't see the road or anything back there. We do see the power lines, although the power lines don't go to the house, which is kind of strange. What are they powering? What are you powering? The power lines don't go to the house, but just imagine if they did, that would make more sense. And I guess there should be a road back there. If you look at the map again, the state highway kind of runs along the coastline, right? Right, so driveway comes over here, there's a garage there, and I guess this is sort of like a car porch, except it's, you know, the cantilever of the house above. Right, very cool. Let's get inside. The front door is around this way, which is curious. Because that's just beach, right? But I guess the idea is you want your house to face the beach because that's where the view is. But again, like it's the Pacific Ocean, it's not... Every time you open this, if the wind's blowing in and you open this door, and then all the sea spray and the sand just comes in straight into your house. It's not... We're in the video game, so you can't feel the wind. If you were standing here on site, you would literally feel the sand hitting you in the face. Like it's not that fun. Living by the beach is not always fun, I'm telling you. Like on a nice day it's nice, on a day like this it's gonna hit you. Okay, it's pretty dark. Let me turn this on. This will give us a little bit of light from the projector. Oh, there you go. Wait. Is it on? Oh, it's not on. What's going on? Well, anyway. So you come in the front door, immediately you have piano and a chair. And then you have a dining, lounge, kitchen, a little sitting area, and all of this is just open space. It's just a... It's a... what do you call it? Oh, there's the projector. Big open plan living area. Right, open plan. So open plan. It's this like modernist fantasy of freedom and openness, right? So like no walls, everything is open. Everything you're free to do whatever you want. Like this sort of thing, it looks good, and you might think it's a good idea, but if you live with any other people, you have no privacy, and like people bother you. Like you're trying to watch TV and people are like making noise in the background. So if you live with other people, you want rooms. Or at least you want the ability to close off the rooms. If you're living alone, or if there's only like a couple of people, then a big open space feels great. Because, you know, it just feels big and open, right? So offices like this sort of thing because it's easy to rearrange. So a lot of offices have like a big open plan and then you have cubicles. For management, that's great. For the workers, it's kind of it's not nice because again, distractions because you hear everyone else. As people talk, you can hear them talking. So open plan offices, like the boss likes it, but the workers don't. And in a house, it's kind of the same thing. Like it looks nice, but if you actually live there, there's like there's not enough privacy and too many distractions if you live with other people. Alright. So on this side, we have a room with a chair in it. Not entirely sure what this is. It seems to be just like a sitting room. Looking out that way. But if we check over here, this is where the downstairs toilet is, right? There's a big ass shower, enormous shower, a toilet, right, and then a sink. Oh, this sink is stylish, look at that. It kind of sweeps diagonally down sideways. That's way more stylish than it needs to be. And then we have laundry. So this might be a guest room, or it can function as a guest room, because if you like put a bed here, then the guest sleeps here, and they have a kind of private bathroom down here. So I guess it can... Oh, there's a toothbrush there. Hold on. Why would somebody have a toothbrush here if there's no bedroom next door? So this could be like a... You get as like a makeshift guest room. If we come back this way... Oh, before I do that. So indoors you can see the construction, you can see the bare concrete. So these are like concrete walls and then concrete floors. So it's just like concrete walls and floors. Again, too many windows, not enough structure. You're telling me that, like, what's holding up the roof? So that goes all the way up and down, right? And then this is just cantilever. And then that goes all the way up and down, except there's a big door there. So, you know, structurally, only that bit is the column, because the door is not structural. Like, there's no strength in the door. There's no strength in the windows. So there's like a tiny little column there, and then there's like a column there, and then that part is solid. And then there's walls there, except... Hold on, do these line up? I can check the map. They don't quite line up. They kind of line up, but they kind of don't. Like, it's a little bit offset. So structurally, there's no way a few supports can hold up all this roof, is what I'm trying to say. And remember that New Zealand sits on an earthquake fault. So New Zealand is volcanically active, and there are occasionally earthquakes. And so you don't just want to hold up the roof, you need to like brace it against diagonal movement, because when the ground shakes sideways, your building is going to like move sideways. You need to like brace it horizontally, right? You can't just have like, you know, a very thin columns holding up a roof. Once that shakes, like the columns just fall down and then the whole roof falls down, right? So again, structurally implausible. But you can make it work. Like you can just like rearrange some of these walls and roofs and bits, and just have a fewer windows, right? Don't have that many windows, and it will be fine. I think. I think. All right. So back here is the garage. We were here earlier on the driveway, right? We have a garage here. Not much to say. Fairly utilitarian. And then here, in the back of the house, we have services. Oh, look at that. Electricity. So this is the fuse box, right? So electricity comes in here. I think this is space heating. I believe this is the hot water cylinder. And I don't know what this is. What is this? Gas? What is this? Not sure what that is. So electricity, space heating, hot water cylinder. We have like a freezer here, I guess, and then some food storage. So this is a services area. Behind the garage makes sense. You can bring in bulk goods through the garage and store your food there. This is the back door, I suppose. Goes back out to the beach. Okay, so this is the back area. Interesting that the laundry is not back here. The laundry is in the other space. Often the laundry would also be in the services area. And then we're back in the open plan living area, right? Through here we have a swimming pool. You don't actually want to swim in the Pacific Ocean all the time. Again, the Pacific Ocean is wild. Like you don't, it's not always nice to swim in. So they have a swimming pool if you want to swim, but not out there. I do have doubts though. Again, it seems like the whole thing seems too low. Oh, sorry about that. We seem to be too close to the sea level. Like if there's a storm and then like the waves start crashing in, and then this place just gets filled with seawater. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't build a house this close to the water and this low on the ground. Anyway, let's go upstairs. Up here, where should we go first? Let's go this way first. So the main living space is double height, very impressive, extravagant, a waste of space, but when you have money to spend, you can afford to waste space. Over here we have another sitting area. There's a lot of sitting areas. We do have a bookshelf here, though I guess this is like the reading area. Sit here, read books. Behind this door we have the bedroom, with a sitting area of its own in the bedroom. So the bedroom has the best views in the house, I believe. We have big ass windows all along here, and the ocean is outside, very nice. And then the bed faces a big screen TV. I don't know about the big screen TV thing, because look, you come to the beach, and what are you doing? You're watching TV. You're not enjoying the beach. This is not the badge philosophy. This is not the New Zealand back to nature philosophy. There's a skylight above the bed, which again, it seems like, oh, it's very romantic, or so, very what'd you call it? Like you like the idea of it. The idea of it is, oh, very nice. But you know, like when you have a thunderstorm, that's gonna be interesting. Like when there's lightning coming down, and you're like, oh, okay. That might be concerning when you're sleeping there and there's like thunder outside. Again, like all of this, like this entire house, when the weather is nice, it's really nice. Everything's really nice when the weather's nice. But when you're on the Pacific Ocean, the weather's not always nice. I'm just trying to say, I'm just trying to explain to you. Some of this stuff is optimistic, right? You imagine it'll be nice, but sometimes it's not. Alright, we have a big walk-in wardrobe. A lot of clothes, which is a little strange. Again, this is not a back to nature, back to basics philosophy. Why do you have all these fancy clothes? It's just nothing around except beach and ocean. Who are you trying to impress, right? Look at this. High heels? You're on a beach and you're gonna wear high heels? Who are you trying to impress? There's nobody here. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Alright, and then we have a big fancy bathroom. Big ass bath. Big ass shower. And fancy stone. And again, a skylight under the bathtub. I mean, you can like lean back in the bath, watch the sky. Again, like when the weather's nice, this is really nice. Just lean back in your bathtub and the sun's kind of coming down at you. Except the weather's not always nice, and then it's not so nice when there's like a thunderstorm outside. What is that carpet or is that stone? I think that's carpet. Anyway, let's go back outside. So this is the bedroom, right? Over here, we have more sitting area and a desk. I think this is supposed to be the office, another skylight there. I think it's meant to be the office, not that much paperwork though. I guess you don't come to the beach house to do office work. We have a little bit of an exercise corner here. A stationary bike and weights. If you're on the beach, why would you exercise indoors? Wouldn't you just like go running out there? This is a little strange. Having like a stationary bike inside the beach. You come all the way out here to the beach house and then you're exercising indoors. Slightly odd. We do have a painting with a hidden switch and a safe room in here. The safe room has weapons and look up there, I think that's ammo and there's food and water. Alright, so the safe room is pretty basic. There's no toilet in the safe room though, so you better not be in here for too long, otherwise you're pooping on the floor if you're stuck in here for a long time. Like there's enough water and food to last you several days, but there's no toilet. There's no toilet. That's a problem. The safe room does have a secret exit out into the garage. And if we come out here and have the door closed, oh look at that. Oh, it's completely flush. You can barely see it. Amazing. So we have a hidden door to the safe room. Let's get back upstairs. There's an outdoor area upstairs. In fact, let me come out this way and go around, right? So from here, we have balcony. I mean, the balcony is not really big enough for you to do anything. You can walk along it, but there's like... What are you gonna do? Put a chair here? There's not enough space to like really do anything on this side. You can put a chair here, I guess. There's enough space for that. Right. Balcony comes around the entire house. This is nice. Except that the wind is going to be blowing into your face with the sea spray and the sand. And then there's this outdoor living area. Again, we are very exposed. Like the ocean is right there and we are very exposed. This is gonna be delightful when the weather is nice. But when the weather is not nice, this stuff is gonna get destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. Like when the wind blows in and all the sea spray comes in and everything gets covered in salt. By the way, all these giant windows facing the sea spray is gonna come in and leave salt on the windows. You're gonna have to wash that constantly to get the salt off. Oh yeah, your expensive house by the ocean. You know what the ocean does to architecture? Terrible, terrible things is what it does. Like it's a harsh environment, and the weather's not always nice. They do have a little meditation bench here. Let's sit down here and meditate up on the ocean. And look at this. This is the sort of thing you see in architecture magazines, right? Like you look at it, the photographer comes here on a nice sunny day and takes a photo for the architecture magazine, and you read the magazine, you look at the photo and you're like, wow, that looks really beautiful. Yeah, when the weather's nice. When the weather's not nice, you sit up here and it's just sea spray hitting your face non-stop. And more often than not, it's gonna be like that. So, a little bit optimistic, I think. Yeah, all of this, way too optimistic. Interesting is that they put this here, and this gives you some shelter, right? Like, this is more sensible, to be honest. Maybe have some glass or something so you get a view, or maybe have like half walls. But like, what you should do is you have like some walls and some openings, and then depending on whether the weather is nice or not, you can like sit behind the walls. If the wind's just blowing in, you can like hide behind the walls and still enjoy the outdoors. And then if the wind's not blowing in, then you can like get out here and enjoy the view. So what you need is really not have everything completely open the way it is here, but have some of it sheltered and some of it not. So that depending on what the weather is like, you can like just adjust where you're sitting. And maybe some bits have a roof, so if it's raining, you can still kind of be kind of outside but not be rained on. And in other parts it doesn't have a roof, so if it's sunny, you can enjoy the sun. Like, I'm not saying you can't make this work, I'm just saying you want a little bit more shelter than this. Like, you want more sheltered bits. And you want like a chair here in the sheltered bit. Like, none of this, all of this is optimistic, the way this is arranged. And this friggin' fireplace, look at this, there's a fireplace here. What the hell are you gonna do with this fire? Everything's completely open. The fire's not gonna do anything. Like, if you're right here, huddled by the fire, okay, you're gonna warm yourself up. You're sitting back here, and you have a dinky little fire there, it's not gonna do anything for you. It's just... That fire's not gonna do anything! This is the east coast of New Zealand, you guys. Like, it's not... everything is so exposed. Back here, we have another little sitting area. Not much happening here. Although, to be honest, if more of the outdoor space was like this, I'd be happier. Like, if this wasn't behind the staircase, if there was like a view, if there were views both ways, but it was like sheltered in two directions. Because the wind can be from any direction as well, right? So you want a space where if the wind's coming this way, you have like walls and then views this way, and then you want another space going the other way, so that if the wind's coming this way, it blocks the wind, but you have views the other way. So like depending, like you want to like arrange the spaces so that depending on which way the wind's blowing, whether it's raining or not, whether it's sunny or cloudy, like you just kind of have a lot of different directions and walls and like different shelters and different openings. So like no matter what happens, you can find a place that suits you in that particular moment. Does that make sense? Like this is kind of this is too exposed. And like, I mean, this you can kind of make this work. Like if the wind's blowing this way, you would sit here, but there's no chair here, right? If the wind's blowing the other way, like if it's blowing from the ocean, you would like sit here and be fine. If the wind's blowing the other way, you would like sit here and you'll be fine. You see what I mean? So you want to like have this arrange the shelter so that you can just like move around to the space where it's calm and sheltered from the wind. But like that it's almost there. Like you can almost make this work, just not quite. All right, onto the roof. We have a flat roof. Again, this modernist fantasy of just planes, just kind of horizontals and verticals. So flat roofs, they have problems with leaking and too much rain. So, I mean, this is okay actually. What happens if there's a lot of rain? So the windows, you'll notice they're raised up, right? And I assume this is all waterproof. I mean, it better be. And then like the outer ledge is just a little bit lower than the windows, and so if it rains a lot, the water would pour and then it'll flow over the edge. Okay, so if like the downpipes are not sufficient, so it won't flow into the windows, so that's good. But then like this stuff is a bit more dubious, because every time a pipe goes into the building, there's like edges where potentially it can leak. Right? Every time you have the pipe go in like that, it's possible that it'll leak. And I feel like there's not enough waterproofing around here. And the thing about waterproofing is they're never 100%, right? Eventually they'll leak and then you have to fix it. So with the sloped roof, it will leak a little bit, but the water wouldn't pool. The water will run off, and even if it leaks, it will leak a little bit. If it's flat and the water is just sitting on top and not flowing away, then it can leak a long time because the water is there and slowly seeping through the gaps, and there's a pool of water there constantly feeding it. Whereas if the roof is sloped, there's no pool of water, and so only a little water will come in. So flat roofs exacerbate leaks, and generally not a good idea in harsh environments. Like you can do it, but it's more maintenance and more complicated. But I guess if you have enough money to spend on a house like this, you can afford maintenance and complexity, right? It's just not a good idea. You can do it, but it's not a good idea. We have a few solar panels, but they're facing the wrong way. So we're in the southern hemisphere. The sun is to the north. They should be facing that way and not out to sea like that. So they're facing this way, they should be facing that way. And I don't think there's enough solar panels to power the house anyway, because the house it uses a lot of power, it's pretty big. And you notice that the house relies a lot on mechanical ventilation. Look at this, there's like ventilation, and it relies on mechanical ventilation because if we go back down, we'll see that none of the windows open. All the windows are sealed, so you can't open any of the windows. So if you want any ventilation inside, you're relying on mechanical equipment. Look at this, like none of these open. This looks like it might open, but I don't think it actually does. I mean, I don't see any hinges or handles. I mean, it might open, but doesn't seem like it. All the big glass walls don't open. So everything relies on mechanical ventilation, although as I say that, I will notice that there are no vents in the ceiling. There were ducts up there, but there's no vents down here, so I don't know what that means. I think they just didn't do it properly. Alright, well, never mind. Never mind, they didn't actually think about ventilation. Okay, so I think that's pretty much the whole house. Let's go outside. We'll take a look at it again from the preferred angle. I mean, it looks great, right? It's the sort of thing you would see in architecture magazines. Alright, and you imagine it's really cool to live in a house like this, but there are just some problems with, first of all, its location. It's on the sand and too close to the water, and it's too open. The Pacific Ocean is harsh, and although you want it to be open to get the amazing views, the outdoor areas seem way too optimistic. I don't think you'll ever use those. It's just too exposed to the weather, right? It's an extravagant modernist fantasy, right, for people who have way too much money. Oh, and structurally it seems improbable. Like, if we work on the structure a little bit, I think we can retain most of the building and just like lose a few windows here and there, and we can retain most of the structure. Maybe have a few columns in the middle of the space, which the architect wouldn't like. But to make it work structurally, you kind of have to have that. Either that, or just have like a thicker roof where you can fit more structure in, maybe. Alright, I guess that's it. It's a fancy modernist house. If you don't look too closely, like the way I did, it's fine. If you look really closely, there's some issues. Okay, let's go ahead and assassinate Elma Reynard.
Well done,
Ah, there she is.
Now get off the property.
And we have to run that way because the boat is over there. So that's Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. In the next video, we are going to Miami, USA. We're going to the Miami Raceway. Although I haven't looked at it closely yet. I don't know if it's the real Miami Raceway or a fictional one. I don't know how I feel about this. Because this is like the fantasy of New Zealand. It's like, oh, it's just you and the wilderness. The real New Zealand's not like this, not really. But anyway, see you next time in Miami.